I guess I'm live. Wow, okay. I was not sure I hit the button, so you guys got to see me preparing for Facebook Live. Welcome. It is Tuesday. We're here for Tuesday tea time, and we have Ocasio and Atlas here. We are sitting in the shed here at Plum Pond. We've got our beautiful pastures out behind, but it's hot. It's the middle of the day, and so everybody here is taking a nap. And I thought I would share with you guys this time with Ocasio and Atlas. Today, I want to actually bring up a little bit of a controversial subject, and that is the idea of right and wrong. There's a lot of this in the horse world where everyone thinks they have the right answers. And when you have the right answers, you really want to share them. You really want to save other people from the pain that you've been through before you found your right answers. And this is commendable. This comes up because there was recently a bit of an argument on my Facebook page. Yeah, about whether I was allowing my horses to have too much grass and whether it was possible that they were going to founder because they were allowed to eat too much. And, you know, the first thing that I want to say is I think this is a really valid discussion. I think this is an important discussion to have. And I'm not upset that it was brought to my attention or that somebody suggested we think about it or talk about it. That's reasonable. A bunch of people jumped to my defense, which was very kind, but not necessary, you know, and some people just wanted to jump in the conversation with their own opinion, and that's okay too. I do value good discussions, and I don't think we all need to agree. I think there's room for a lot of people to disagree in the world. The place that is interesting for me is, you know, where we start thinking that any one of us has all the right answers for every situation. Hi. So, you know, there's an example right there. Ocasio just nudged me. He nudged me really hard. For a lot of people, that would be completely and totally inappropriate. They would say that he's invading my personal space, that's going to create a dangerous horse. And you know what? They might be right. I have decided that I like those playful behaviors so much that I'm willing to accept them in our relationship, and I'm willing to accept the dangerous things that come along with them. And every person that has horses is going to decide on a certain number of things that they like the benefits well enough that they're going to accept the risks. And that's part of this journey. When someone says to me, you shouldn't let your horse nudge you like that, I am going to consider it. I am going to think, well, what are the reasons that that might be true? But then I'm going to ask myself, is that actually true for me? And so, you know, whatever it is, there's going to be pros and cons. There's going to be benefits and there's going to be detriments. This came up because, you know, someone was really concerned that I was letting Atlas here eat too much grass. That might be possible. It is possible that he will founder. And looking at all of the pros and cons, I've decided that that's a risk I'm really willing to take. He is living in a herd for the first time since I've had him. He's really happy. He is getting more movement than ever. His joints aren't stiff the way they used to be. There's so many benefits that I'm willing to take the risks with those benefits. Now, could I build him paddock paradise and have, you know, all of those same benefits without the risk? Possibly. And I do think about it. And I might do it at some point. At this point in time, I'm really, really happy with the situation we have. And, that's not going to be comfortable for everybody. So I just want to bring that up in terms of all of us who have horses. We're going to run into situations with wrong and right, and we're going to learn from all of them. And I actually think that the public disagreement that happened on my Facebook page this week was valuable. I thought there were some really good articles posted. It was a good form of communication. The person that was really upset with me ended up saying that she no longer wanted to hear from me ever again. And so I stopped answering the thread. I don't mean to upset anybody. I don't want to upset anybody. And when we have a really healthy disagreement about things, I don't need the conversation to go on any longer than somebody's comfortable with. So if it makes somebody really upset and it really triggers their fight or flight, they may not be ready for my point of view. And then it's probably in their best interest that they change focus, that they go talk to people that are more within their bubble, that think the same things they do, that are more comfortable conversations for them. And so, if you're somebody that gets really triggered by somebody having a different opinion than you, you're going to have to find the right circle of friends to stay comfortable. And that's reasonable. I support any of you in that. If I happen to be in that circle of your friends, I might believe some things that you don't. And that's okay. Hopefully I can express them in a way that is interesting, engaging, thoughtful, and lets everybody sort of think, is that true for me? Oh, Cassio. So there's a million different things. One thing that I'll bring up here, my horses here are standing in the shade in the shelter. I don't put any fly spray on them. Some people would think that's terrible that I don't protect them from the flies. But where I live, in the climate I'm in, the flies are not too bad. And it's one of the things that drives the horses in to take a break from eating. So I might let them eat too much grass. I admit it, it's a risk. I'm working on it and I'm thinking about it, and I think it's reasonable right now. I also leave them a little bit exposed to the elements so that they're more likely to come spend more time inside and take breaks between eating. And there's millions of different decisions that everyone gets to make for the health and the well-being of their horse. And I really encourage all of us to share the ones that work for us, and also know that the people who we talk to might make different choices for their own reasons, because of the climate they live in, because of the lifestyle they have, because of the unique history of the horse that they are living with. There's all of those things to consider. And Kristen, there's always going to be some common point of view somewhere. The fact is, there will be differences, and those differences can be interesting and engaging and thoughtful and dynamic and really good conversation if we allow them to be. If we are too triggered and upset about somebody being different from us, or somebody not doing something that we think is in the horse's best interest, I really encourage everybody out there to share with enthusiasm the things that work for you. Video it, share it, write an article on it, make a blog post, talk about how well it works for you. Inspire others by how well it works. And the more we share the things that work, the more people can pick them up when they make sense. When you get really attacking because somebody isn't doing things right, I really think it points more to your own insecurity, that you're scared. You're scared that maybe your choices aren't as good as you think they are. I don't know if that's true or not true, but I hope that I don't put anybody in that situation. And everybody who comes in contact with me, I hope that I can share my views in a way that lets you know that you might make really different decisions than me, and that's okay. That's really okay. Yeah, so we are going to get emotional sometimes. We are going to have tunnel vision. That's part of being alive when we get overwhelmed. I will tell you that right now, I mean, Atlas is asleep, but he is the calmest, happiest, steady, relaxed horse I've seen since I got him. And there's a casualness about how we're able to interact now that's really wonderful. I struggled for a long time about whether it was okay to geld him. I'm ultimately really, really glad that I did, but I'm also glad that I waited as long as I did, even though his life might have been better if he'd had that surgery sooner. The risks felt too big. It felt too unsafe to put a veterinarian in that situation, to be in the situation with him recovering. There were a lot of reasons I waited as long as I did. Ultimately, best choice that I could have made for him, in my opinion. But the timing was also there too. So Christian says, I've always found a great point of view from you about my clicker training point of view. Nice to have a different perspective on similar aspects. Yeah, exactly. So as a lot of you guys know, I don't do clicker training, but I have a huge respect for people who do it, for people who value that form of training. And there's always going to be pros and cons. I am going to miss out on some of the benefits of clicker training, but I've decided it's worth it because there's some downsides that I am happy to miss out on. And everybody gets to make those choices. So, right now I've got Ocasio and Atlas in the shed with me. Ari is in the other shed. We have several sheds. And I am, I'm considering, should I keep Ari a stallion? Would he be more integrated in the group if he was a gelding? And I haven't decided yet. I don't know. I'm not ready to make that decision yet. But I am going to keep thinking about it. And I know that no matter what decision I make, some people will agree with me and some people won't agree with me. And the more famous I get, the more likely that's going to become the case. But yes, exactly, Christian. My goal is not to tell you guys if you're right or if you're wrong. My goal is to help you ask the right questions and notice cause and effect so that your feel and your timing gets better doing whatever you're doing. Whatever it is, I want to encourage you to look at the horse, read the horse. Are they getting healthier? Are they getting happier? Are they developing in a way that makes their life better? Hopefully with you, because it's both the horse and the human that matter. Not one is more important than the other, in my opinion. Obviously, there will be people that disagree with me. Right and wrong is a very polarized view of the world. And the thing that I really encourage people to do is think about better or worse. Is it getting better or is it getting worse? If your relationship with your horse is getting better, if their health is getting better, I think it's worth thinking that you're making some good decisions. If it's getting worse, you probably were a little late to make some different decisions, but that's how we learn. Sometimes we have to go a little bit the wrong way before we make different decisions. And that doesn't make it wrong. That makes it part of the learning process. But yeah, Christian, Atlas he's getting pretty relaxed. I mean, my ability to just reach up and pet him anytime, I wouldn't say that he is fully awake and alive and alert at all times, but we are well below the threshold of fight and flight, and we are very slowly and gradually continuing to develop as he comes out of freeze and becomes more and more engaged. Huh? Am I waking you up? I'm pretty pleased that, you know, he's able to interact with me in a way that allows both of us to keep getting better. And that's really the main point that I wanted to make today, is that if we can look at things in a less polarized way, I think we'll all learn. And it doesn't mean that I'm upset. If someone tells me I'm wrong, I'm going to be interested in that. I'm going to be curious about that. I am going to, you know, read the articles that get posted. I'm going to think about how that impacts my life. And that's fascinating to me. If someone says they never want to talk to me again because they don't like my views, I will respect that. They're too triggered. It's too emotional for them. And I don't need to talk to them until if or when they want to come back and they're interested in a different point of view. That's important to me. So for any of you guys who are worried about that conversation that got going on Facebook last week, it's okay. I'm not worried about it. It's fine. I think it was some good food for thought. And yeah, Christian, there's no perfect decision making. It's just this thing where we keep learning to live with each other. Let me read the rest of your comment here, if I can get it to open up. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Communication. If we can keep communicating, we can keep finding the new balance, because balance isn't a static state. We are always finding new balance, and it has a million different factors. We're all living a unique life, and all of those factors come together to build the decisions that are best for each one of us. Sarah says, you're the most open, least defensive, least judgmental horse person I've ever met. Oh, thank you, Sarah. I loved our conversations, and you're great to bounce things off of. And I hope to continue to be that. So, you know, for any of you who think I'm right or I'm wrong, feel free to say it. I'm not going to take it personally. I find it really interesting that people have different viewpoints. I find it really interesting that my horses have different viewpoints from me sometimes. They're not always going to think the same things I think. And they're not always going to agree with me on the choices I make. But that's what makes a relationship interesting. So, as you can see, Alice is waking up a little bit here. He's feeling pretty good. I hope that's some good food for thought, everyone. And if you get in a situation where there seems to be a right or a wrong, I encourage you to put it on a spectrum. Is it getting better or is it getting worse? If it's getting better, you're doing something right, and keep thinking about it. And if it's getting worse, read some things, talk to some people, look for some different points of view, and figure out how to change the tide there. All right, you guys, I will see you next week. Next Tuesday, I will be, I believe, on Cape Cod. I've got a family event I have to go to, and then I'll be headed to Switzerland and the UK after that. So I will see some of you guys on tour, and I will be back home again in 3 weeks. All right. Have a good day, everyone.